assalamu alaikum, Jianu, Pakhair Ragale, Ni Hao, Chune Shumme, Washmale, Ohio, Gonzaimas, Guten Morgen, hi, hugs and hellos, and a very amazing Khush Amadi to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World This Morning alongside Shazad Khan. Thank you very much for tuning in. A very, very good morning for everybody who's out there. Ladies and gentlemen, today we've got a very amazing show lined up for you guys. And for all those parents who are out there, I think it is about time that you guys really need to concentrate on today's show, because what the topic we have picked up on has to do quite a lot with your children and the relationship you share with your children. But before that, I think it's about time that we take a look at what's going on in the world. Top stories coming up. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to inaugurate Luwari Tunnel project today. Prime Minister vows to take Pakistan amongst top developed countries. Hearing of Panama Papers implementation case in Supreme Court today. ICC Women's World Cup, Australia to face India in second semi-final today at Derby. And ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time that we move on towards our public service message. So let's see and let's take a listen at what we are sharing today. All right, so talking about a public service message, it's an everyday drill. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to reiterate one of the older public service messages, and that was that the use of indicator while you're driving is very essential. For example, every day when I'm coming towards the studio or at work, or if I'm going somewhere, I've noticed, even if I'm driving, what happens is that quite a lot of people, even if they have to take a left turn or a right turn, what they do is that they really do not use the indicators. And the only thing which I do not understand is that for all those people who actually own cars, why can't you realize the importance of indicators? I mean, it saves life. This is why they are there. This is why they're on your cars. So please make sure that you use them, because just because of the fact that, you know, you were probably busy on your phone and you had to take a left turn, and somebody who was already in the left lane it can be very dangerous for people. So please make sure that you use indicators properly. Okay, so this is one thing which I wanted to say. Please do that. And quite a lot of times I've experienced that people who are actually, you know, driving, what happens is that, you know, you keep on dipping them, and then eventually you lose your patience and then you honk at them as well. They just do not change their lane. So for all those people who might not have an idea of, you know, what is left lane for, the right lane for, left lane is for all those people who want to drive slow, or probably whatever way they feel, and then the right one's for the overtaking. So please make sure that you do not occupy that space for a longer period of time. It's only supposed to be for overtaking. Please understand this. So that was our public service message. And now moving on with the topic. So ladies and gentlemen, and for all those parents, amazing people who are out there, and for all those kids, you know, I think it's going to be a good listen for you guys as well. Quite a lot of times, you know, we do symbolize children as a symbol of love, as a symbol of peace, as a symbol of tranquility, as a symbol of healthier relationships as well, and children, wherever they might probably be. You know, it's like a downfall. Love, for example, in case of parents and kids, it's a river, you know, which is actually supposed to go downwards. Now, what happens is that no matter how many times you say that you love your grandfather quite a lot, that is not possible once you're going to have your kids. Okay, you love your kids is one thing, but over here in Pakistan, we do have a very different parenting style, or different styles as well. What happens is that we do not communicate with our children. What we do is that we actually impose or say that, you know, this is what you are supposed to do, and I'm not going to listen to anything else. Well, do you think that it's a good idea? Do you think that it's a bad idea? This is what we are talking on. And other than that, what happens over here within Pakistan and within our culture is that we do not have one-on-one sessions with our kids. We are too shy to talk about all of those stigmatized issues, or probably, you know, we do have a tabooed society as well. And then for all those things which we do not discuss. So that means kids take it as if, for example, they're going to decide by their own selves that, okay, you know, since my father or my mother's not even going to talk about this, or I'm too shy to talk about this subject with my parents, so I think I'm going to decide by my own self. Do you think that this is how it should be? Do you think that it needs to change? Do you think that parents actually need to be more open, more liberal? This is what we are discussing. And especially how to communicate for parents, from parents' point of view, and then from children point of view. I think this is what we're going to do today. And I've got very apt guests. I've got somebody who's actually in a university too as well. And she's always done a very amazing job whenever she has been over here on the show. And she's very positive with her answers. It's not like that we do not have solutions to problems. We always have solutions first, and then there are problems following the solutions. This is how we need to think, so please make sure that you're always positive. So on my right-hand side, we have got Dr. Uzma Masroor, who's a consultant clinical psychologist, associate professor, Bahria University. Hello, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum salam, I'm fine.
And as far as I know, you're a mother of two as well.
Yeah.
And one is 21 and the other is 20, and one of them is not even talking to her. Well, figure out why and what's going on. And alongside Dr. Uzma, we have got Ms. Tahira Naveed. She's a consultant clinical psychologist. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you very much for joining us. So let's get the conversation started, because I'm a father of one. Alhamdulillah, I've got a daughter. She's going to be 4 years old, inshallah, this year. And what happens with toddlers is that whenever you try to communicate with them, because, you know, I do realize the importance of communication. So whenever I'm like, Shabano, come here, you know, how was your weekend, you know, what happened? So, and then she's like, where's my doll? Where's my toy? So I actually have to work hard on it, and then I actually have to wait for probably bedtime. When she's about to sleep and she doesn't want to sleep, and her mother's actually putting her to sleep or to bed, and then she turns towards me and she goes like, "Abba baatein kare?" And I'll be like, yeah, let's talk.
Story time.
Yeah, story time. And then I have to make so many other stories I cannot even tell you. Okay, so now let's get started.
Okay.
Why do you think, let's talk from a point of view of a teenager, or for example, you know, the age your kids are, or when we were growing up. Why do you think communication is important?
One just addition. I have two teenagers, but I have two younger sons also, and they have their own challenges. So I'm good at talking about different age range problems, because I currently am facing almost all age issues. So I can talk about teenaging today.
Yeah.
So your question was, teenage is basically, it has been discussed earlier as well, it is transient phase of a personality, you know, coming out of a shell, coming out of a social, I would say, makeup, whatever he's given to or she is given to. And at this age, a new point of view is developing, a new personality is emerging. So there is likelihood of being misunderstood by the, you know, surrounding as well. And parents, I think, are the first object that are affected by this.
Object?
Yeah.
I think the parents out there might not even like it, you know. The psychologists calling them an object. All right. I mean, for kids,
because
for
something
teenagers,
hits them. But
for teenagers, that can happen.
Yeah. I mean, something hits them, you know, without their intention. So something just comes on them. So that's why I'm talking, you know, labeling them as object, because they don't have any role in it sometimes.
Yeah.
But now coming back to this point seriously, actually communication gap is an umbrella term we use for different kind of problems which are occurring at this age, teenage, and with other children as well. And when these problems are not being observed by the parents, or they are unable to handle, or something going on, you know, between the two, the parents and the children, and you know, they are unable to fix it. So currently with this, you know, society with more social networking, teenagers are more, I would say, intelligent. They are more learned in, you know, some respect. So
and they're very clever too.
Exactly, they are very clever, and
they
are
do not
very
accept
advanced.
friend requests from their mother or their father or from their relatives.
Yeah, and they are very advanced than we were.
Yeah.
So we are also in trouble. I think they are in trouble and we are in trouble too. So problem is from both sides.
Yeah.
So communication gap, it occurs when both sides are kind of, you know, not able to
address the issues
or identify the issues. And you know what, it ends, you know, sometimes very bad relationships, very bad environment at home, And it starts with a simple argument, and then it leads to something very different at home. What would I say?
Yeah, and obviously there are, and the impact is so great that
Exactly.
I want to give an example of where, ladies and gentlemen, there's this new season, 13 Reasons Why. So within that season, I mean, if we'll get our hands onto the a teaser or a trailer of that season, we will definitely share it with you. So what happens within that season is that they've shown a daughter, a lady, a girl, and there this communication gap in
Yeah,
between the
exactly.
parents and the girl or the daughter, and what happens is she end up facing depression and all of these type of problems, and then she end up killing herself as well.
Exactly.
So it can be this fatal if you do not communicate with your kids. But for parents, Tyree, it gets very difficult to address issues within our society. For example, I do not remember as a kid that I could actually go up to my father and tell him, "Yo, Abuji, I love this certain girl." I mean, this is the thought of it actually gave me jitters that, okay, I might probably be thrown out of the house.
Exactly, exactly.
Now, what do we do about it? I mean, how do we address these issues, first of all?
To address the issue of what the teenager is facing, parents must be open.
Okay.
Because if a parent is not open, the child would not come to them, he would not discuss his or her issue. As you said, he would never come and say, I like this girl. Instead, he would use certain other means which we say are not appropriate to our norms, which are not appropriate for our family. They would go for those ways. So if a parent is open, the child would come. And trust is a very important thing.
Yeah.
If the child has this trust in parents, whatever I would say, my parents would understand and they would guide me. Instead of just shouting, yelling,
Yeah.
they would be appreciating, they would be guiding. Naturally, sometimes teenagers are saying something which parents do not agree, but even that disagreement should be shown in a way that it's not embarrassing or humiliating for the child.
Yeah. Okay, but majority, okay, I think I'm going to give a very true example over here. So what happens is, since you mentioned about trust, we do have trust deficit within our, kid and parent relationship. And what happens is that, one day you go back home, your mother can actually look at your face and say that there's something wrong. Oh, come on, tell me. I'm not going to
Yeah.
say anything.
Exactly,
Mera
this is-
beta,
this is-
and eventually when you open up, right after 5 minutes, man,
Exactly.
you're getting beaten by your mom.
Exactly.
And they
Ithe aadat
quote
hai
it
unda sa.
even.
Exactly.
They quote it afterwards. Like they just rub it over your face. At flan time you did this, at flan time you did that. Like they don't trust parents.
Yeah.
Because whenever they open up, they have to face those shoutings and yellings and blame games. So that's the reason they don't open up.
Dr. Uzma.
And sometimes what I've observed in my practice, the denial. Denial of the parent, like they simply blame their children for everything, and they say they are not communicating to us, we are very open, we are welcoming, and we are very liberal, but they don't come to us. But in fact, this is the point where the gap starts, in fact.
Okay.
Because once you start thinking his child is not coming, and secondly, children, they have the same problem at their end. They think parents are not in fact calling them, they are not welcoming. So much of misunderstanding between them, and it is manifested first of all in terms of lack of I would say conversation. First of all, regular conversation is usually easy for them, but anything that is related to their career, their personality, their choices, and anything, even expression of their emotions.
Yeah.
They disliked something, they liked something, as you have just mentioned. So this all, it becomes very difficult for them to do that. And the indication, when you know there is a gap between parent and children, once somebody requests you, please, talk to my child, I'm just trying to figure this out, and he or she is not, cooperating with me.
Yeah.
So when we ask someone else to intervene, that means the gap is already taken place.
Okay, so then that means that we need to, okay, then I feel that the next question should be that how do people or parents make sure that their communication is child appropriate?
I think the regular practices we have been emphasizing on is to take some time out for the children from your busy schedule. It should be quality time when you are sitting together since day one. So I think there is very less likelihood of create this gap. Regular talk about their affairs, their education, their friendships, their circle, and everything. So talking about different minor things, even minor
Yeah.
things, even their likenesses, dislikenesses may help you to reduce this gap, and a proper rapport that is built since your childhood, it helps you, because in teenage the child has to change himself.
Yeah.
There is very clear indicator. There is very clear indication of their behavior change, and it is sometimes very startling because you did not expect a child. And we have these reports, already.
And as soon as the teenage starts, the parents start to think that as if their kid came from Mars as well, or what happened to him, and the kids become stubborn too as well. But other than that, don't you think, Ms. Taira, this one's for you, don't you think that parents really do not have or have actually adopted to the technological evolution, which might be the cause of this communication gap? Because, for example, if I go to my father, he doesn't even know how to use a smartphone, sit down with them. We do not have a common topic to talk about. Don't you think that the parents need to evolve too as well alongside kids and learn all of these new things where their kids are interested?
Exactly. To build a rapport with a kid or to have a communication, parents should choose the topics which are of interest of a children as well.
Yeah.
It's not that the parents are talking about politics and the child doesn't know about it, and the child is talking about cars or games or something like Facebook or Snapchat, etc., and the parent doesn't know about
Yeah.
it. So they should have mutual grounds to talk about. So they need to evolve. For example, there are parents who are evolved, but what they do is they are busy on their own Facebook. The child is not added there, and the child is busy on his Facebook. The father is not added there.
Yeah.
And both of them are sitting together using their own phones. They don't have time for each other. Like, to make them communicate, you have to go to the Wi-Fi and switch it off so that they could communicate with one another.
No, I mean, if the kid's going to do that, I think what's going to happen is a chappal will come flying towards your face. Why did you do that? If your father was already on the
Exactly.
Facebook. See, now, as a matter of fact, when I was preparing for the topic, so
Okay.
I read somewhere that all we need to do is to communicate with your child is show interest in whatever he or she is interested in.
Exactly. I'll be talking about three very important things.
Sure.
First, you have to be a good listener and observer.
Yeah.
The first thing is very important. While your child is not coming to you, it's been a while that he has not talked to you, or he's not around, or maybe busy in activity, and you should notice what is going already happening. You may call the child, you may look around what is happening. So one thing is your observation, and in case if you have to listen something. The second thing is interaction with the child. The first is observation and second is interaction. So here comes certain things like you need to develop certain ways to talk to them.
Yeah.
You have to be patient, you have to be open. Okay, maybe you disagree on, maybe I as a mother, I'm disagreeing on many points, but unfortunately or fortunately I cannot express them.
Yeah, share that story. I mean, share that story. You just said early in the morning that, one of your kids not talking to you. What was the reason behind? Why is he or she not talking to you?
Actually, I would say this is advancement of our society. We've been raised up into in different environment.
Yeah.
Now, the environment they are dealing with is quite normal to them, but not normal to us. So we take time to adjust to that environment. If I'm requested from my child to go outside or hang out with friends, so it is not very easy for me to allow, because I have certain insecurities,
Okay.
and sometimes genuine in nature. It is sometimes difficult for me to communicate them directly, because they think as if they are not mature enough.
And it's the same with every parent.
Exactly, and they think I'm not trusting them, in fact,
Yeah.
or I don't want them to be happy, or I am a rigid person who always want them to study only and don't enjoy it. And this
If
is-
he or she is listening, they might be feeling the pain now that, look at you, man. What have you done to your mother? Don't do that. Okay, but other than that, I think that we have quite a lot of social disparity amongst us as well.
Exactly, this is social disparity, but what we need to do, what I do, in fact, I take some time and I give some time as well.
Okay.
Okay, sometimes we negotiate, and on my terms, sometimes few things from my side and few things from the other side, we negotiate and we decide. It's never like something in the form of order. No, I've told you and I've told you, because it destroys your relationship. Here, the communication gap simply starts. So what we can do, like, I don't like this and you have to compromise on that. Okay, I'll go beyond my limits and I will allow you for this.
Yeah.
So this is how we negotiate, and then things go on. And later on, some other time, I can sit with the child and talk about, the previous issue, and we can discuss, and then maybe things are more clear to me, and few things I am able to communicate to them. So I expect next time things will be much better because understanding will be there.
And are they?
Yes, they are. Yes,
Alright.
they are. Because I, if something happens, I never let it go, unattended.
It's always there.
It is always there, and I always make sure before I go to sleep, or even at the weekend or whatever, I need to address this before next time it happens. So this is what we have to do. The previously the practice of the parents, like they take pride of, I announced. I've told my child not to do that. I never let the child doing this and that. I've never allowed this and that. So this is not a good practice these days, especially.
All right,
I would say.
we will definitely come back to this, but our trailer is ready to be shared with all our amazing viewers who are out there. So let's go. Let's take a look at the trailer from 13 Reasons Why. Good morning. अच्छा अब हम वापस आते हैं और हम वापस आके बात करते हैं कि communication gap.
Not now. Not ever.
Why didn't you say this to me when I was alive? My husband and I, we never got a note.
Hey, it's Hannah. Hannah Baker.
Holy shit.
Settle in, because I'm about to tell you the story of my life. More specifically, why my life ended. And if you're listening to this tape, you're one of the reasons why.
This is a wild game of survival.
Is Hannah telling the truth?
Don't believe everything you hear.
Whatever Hannah thought she saw, she lied about it on those tapes because she's a crazy drama queen who just killed herself for attention. Hannah has secrets, Mrs. Baker.
Hannah's secrets are what killed her.
Maybe I'll never know why you did what you did, but I can make you understand how it felt.
You don't know the whole story.
What else do I need to know? You're just like the rest of them, but I'm not. Everyone is just so nice until they drive you to kill yourself. And sooner or later, the truth will come out.
This is a wild.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so this was a trailer from the season 13 Reasons Why. And 13, the name says it. And it only revolves around all of those kids and the issues the kids are having at school, at home, with parents, and eventually to all of those negative behaviors which a kid might probably start. And the kids do show signs, and then kids end up in depression and they start killing themselves as well, and it can be this fatal too. Not every parent out there is a very amazing parent, and for all those parents who are out there, because I've seen kids who actually unfortunately have not got a good set of parents. So for all those parents who actually think that we are blessed because we have got kids and we are paying their fee, this is not what parenting is. I mean, if you pay the bills, that's not what parenting is. Parenting is being with them emotionally, being with them physically, being with them when they need you. I mean, you just paying their fee and then all the day you're yelling at the child. That's not what we call parenting. But let's start from where we stopped. We had another point.
Yeah. Now, again revising. First is your observation. Second is your way of communication, like your interaction. While you interact, you get to learn about the other side. And the third thing is acceptance and negotiation.
Okay.
So acceptance means like I may not agree on everything, but still I have to give up on certain things.
For example, if a kid starts smoking.
Yeah.
Now, do you?
Exactly.
It is so hard for
And
parents to accept.
Exactly. And other than that, there are many other problems as well. So coming,
Let's
again.
talk about these problems. This is what I'm saying, that even if on television we are too shy to talk about those problems, how do you think people can do it at home?
I think once a child is indulged in a habit, first of all you have to accept it, because immediately your harsh ways of dealing with that issue may even have adverse effects on it. So first thing you need to do is just to find a way out to talk to the child about this. Like, sometimes you have to pretend as if you don't know anything, and then you wait for the right moment to talk about that. Okay?
And that right moment needs
yeah.
to be in person.
In person. And you know, child should not get the idea that you have learned from somewhere else or somebody else has told. So it again creates trust issues. So you have to wait for the right moment or pose, you know, certain situation in a manner as if you have observed directly, so that he should know now he cannot get away with that. And then you can talk about, like, since when you are doing that, or what are the reasons, so what do you think, this is bad or good? So once he agrees to this, this is not good, then you can ask the child that how can we, you know, how help, my help do you want?
Okay, and now, you know, moving on from these 3 points which you have actually made right now, I think they're going to be very vital for all those parents who are out there. But I think we need to go for a short break, and it was my choice to go for a break, so I'm going to use that choice of my own. And ladies and gentlemen, when we guys are going to come back, what we're going to do is that we're going to discuss that aspect. For example, if you do not communicate with your child, and if what are the behavioral changes, first of all, which you really need to be very observant about, because if you are not, as a parent, if you're not observing the behavior of your child because of that communication gap, I think there can be quite a lot of different problems in his or her life and in your life too. Let's go for a break, and when you come back, we are going to find a solution to that too as well. Good morning.
और एक और
Book is life. Book is hope. And book is light for the future.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PTV World, you're watching World this morning alongside Shahzad Khan. Today, ladies and gentlemen, the topic under discussion is how to communicate with your child, and if, God forbid, there is a communication gap, how to fulfill it, first of all. And if you're not able to fulfill it as a parent, what are those negative changes within the behavior of your child which you need to be very observant about? Tairoji, what's your take on this one?
Actually, if you want to identify
That was
if
a very
the child
English actually. I liked it, yeah.
if you want to identify if the child is going through certain problems, you need to observe his or her behavior. The child would be socially isolating his or herself. He would not be participating in the family discussions. He would be living out. He would be spending most of the times with friends, or if he comes home, he would be spending more time in his room. he would be more aggressive, frustrated, and even sometimes they are always disagreeing. Even if the point is right, they would disagree to the family, they would blame on family, you did this, you did that, and they would just compare themselves with others. They would say, flan ka parents aise hain, you are like that, you are like that. So like there are certain behaviors that are very evident.
And then, Uzmiri, anything more you want?
Yeah, I would add into this. Sometimes it is quite natural for a child to talk about certain things, blaming parents and everything. As I've already mentioned, teen age is the age when usually children do this. But again, you need to listen to the content of their conversation. If repeatedly they are blaming you and repeatedly they are blaming themselves as well, that means they are developing self-esteem issues now.
Yeah.
Because they think, I am unfortunate, मैं ही बदकिस्मत हूँ, इस तरह. So these things, you need to be very, careful about what words they are using about themselves. So once listening to such conversation, you may get back to them some other time. Because I always, when you, continuously talking about children, their rearing, practices, different thing, you always have to be, spending some quality time with them. And that you can do is by doing regular conversation with the child. So some other time you have to wait for some right moment and then talk about what were you talking about, like you were saying this and that. So what was the reason behind that? Instead, क्यों कहा था तुमने ऐसे? So it is more threatening. Again we say trust issues. Trust issues are because they know once we speak out, now we are in trouble.
And we can't even call 911.
Exactly.
See, this is the biggest problem as well. So what are those catchy words? For example, if a kid says to the parent within the conversation, oh, I'm very unfortunate.
मैं चला जाऊँगा.
अच्छा मैं चला जाऊँगा.
घर छोड़ दूँगा. Again.
मैं तो हुई ऐसा.
मैं तो हुई ऐसा. You always do that. You are not good parents. फलां के parents ऐसे. So this at some point of time, this is kind of regular catharsis for a child. But again, I would insist, if repeatedly this is happening and then after this conversation he adopts something unusual, some unusual behavior like isolating himself or engaging himself in activity that is not that appropriate, or he leaves the house with his friends and most of the time he is out of the home, or maybe he is pretending to be studying in his room, and whatever he is doing, Wi-Fi, net is available to every child. You don't know what is happening on the telephone even. They are interacting with each other. So they may not be getting right messages. They are not in touch with good people sometimes. Exactly. And they might not be getting right advice for their problems. So there should be a check on them what they are doing, in fact.
Okay, thank you very much for using all of these catchy terms as well. So for all those parents who are out there, मैं चला जाऊँगा, I'm going to leave the house, I do not like you guys.
मर ही जाऊँ तो अच्छा है.
Yeah, and if I die, it's better. So what happens over here in Pakistan, I mean, for all because the show goes out in 46 different countries, for all those people who are listening, other than Pakistanis, you might find it funny. So for example, I remember one time I even said it to my dad, and you know what he said? और ड्रामे करता है ऐसे आ जरा. See, so this is the first thing which comes to their head, that they're just making a story. Now how do we get rid of this point? If a kid's going to the father or to the mother and he says, I'm not going to eat the food, I'm going to lock myself into the room, and once he or she locks the room, that's the time when they realize, oh, he's already done that. So why can't they understand it in the first place?
Not maybe correctly to mention here, but I would say we always talk about child abuse and everything, emotional abuse, and we are very concerned about our children, their social setup. They should not go at any place where they could be abused. But I think home is the place where they are most of the time emotionally abused. I think parents should adopt. I already said this could be harsh for the parents, but I think they are children, they want to trust their parents, they want to share things with their parents. Whenever they are in emotional crisis, they are coming to their parents, and what they are getting in return. So isn't that abuse?
Exactly, it
Not
is.
knowingly, because again you already have mentioned, we think we are paying the bills, we are giving the school fee, so we are fulfilling our duties. So this is not it. So we have to be more careful about our behavior, because if you do that, there might be some other point where you have to beg the child. Again, you will be in such a weaker position. You have to request the child not to do something. Socially inappropriate behaviors are developed because children they get this idea where is the pinching point of their parent. You know, parents are more concerned about log kya kahenge, they are more concerned about the people. So one child understands that there could be something he could do to, you know, seduce the parent. So this is what they do. Then they
Okay, and there can be genuine reasons behind that. I mean, it's not always necessary that the kid's making a story. For example, what if
they are never making a
okay,
story.
so what example? For example, you know, if they have developed a disease and the name is postpartum psychosis,
Yeah.
the parent might not even know, right? So how do I mean? Tell those parents how fatal can postpartum psychosis be? I mean, where people think that, you know, they're actually going to kill themselves.
Exactly. Other than postpartum depression, because if that is all hormonal, you know, change in body.
Yeah.
So one cannot
And
do
this is
anything.
what happens in the teenage.
Exactly, and medication is the ultimate, you know, solution to that. Even psychological help may not work. Psychological help or counseling of the family can help.
Yeah.
But for the person, it is useless to talk about. Of course, you can, you know, help the person to deal with certain side effects.
Yeah.
But still, again, other than that, there are some conversion reactions. There are some hysteric reactions.
Okay.
So this term is very, you know, sometimes very again harsh to say hysteria. Okay. So it is completely, I would say, pseudo-psycho reactions in which there could be some paralysis or there could be some severe intense pain in body. So it is also involuntary.
Okay.
Because this is again lack of communication. Ultimately, in psychotherapy, we come to know that there has been some lack of communication to the appropriate source.
Okay.
That's why the symptoms are converting themselves into bodily symptoms.
And this is what I actually want to pledge to all of those kids who are out there. Majority of the times, you know, if I have grown up, you know, and alhamdulillah, I've been blessed with very amazing set of parents as well. And the best part over here is that, you know, whenever I had to discuss something, thank God that I had a bond with my father and my mother where I could actually go and talk to them. Communicating with the appropriate source. But because what we do is, we do communicate, but, you know, we have an issue, for example, with our father or with our mother. We're communicating it with a friend. Now, he or she cannot actually be of any help to you. He or she can only say that, you know, you need to do this, you need to do that. Please make sure that, you know, the source of the problem, or, you know, if you have a communication gap, you want to talk about something with that particular person, only talk to them. Don't feel shy about it.
I would just like to add one thing in what Mom was saying.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, I just want to guide parents, and that is when a girl, she turns to a teen, she goes through certain hormonal changes and she feels some emotional changes, emotional reactions, which we say PMS, exactly.
Yeah.
So the girl herself needs to understand and communicate it to the parents, and it's very important. If parents do not understand the girl at that time and they just don't consider it, it
Yeah.
turns very serious.
Very serious, and we have been educating certain families. I think startlingly, there were a number of cases which were reported from the parents. That was simply the case of PMS, premenstrual syndrome, because you know, a few days before that, you know, particular days, there is certain change in behavior, and that ends up, you know, fighting with everyone and, you know, behaving
Severe
crazy.
mood swings.
Severe mood swings.
Okay, now, but very quickly, because we're running out of time, we've got two more things to ask, and that is, first of all, what would you recommend for the parents, the stereotypes and challenges to avoid? Okay, please do not even think of this, please do not even talk about this, just look into those, into the camera and tell those parents, please do not take it that seriously.
Seriously about, you know,
The
certain behaviors, stereotypes.
The stereotypes, the challenges.
The one thing is, you should not be concerned about the people around. What do they say?
Okay.
You have to be, you know, concerned about your child, because people won't be coming to you once you will be in trouble, or your child will be ultimately landing into very severe mental problem. So you have to, you know, take care of your family first, and then social, anything related to that. And another thing, child not every time is lying, because most of the time they do not know how to cope the problem with. What are the coping strategies he is going to use? So sometimes there are some, you know, foolish behaviors on their parts, but that not necessarily means that they want to, you know, kind of disturb you, or they are not listening to you. So interpretation of a child's behavior again is, you know, should be very careful.
And if you cannot understand what the child is trying to say, if you cannot even when you look at your child's face, you can tell whether he or she is lying or not. So if you haven't actually done that type of parenting, I think you are at fault.
Exactly, you are the culprit. I think you have developed certain pattern of behavior. The child is not comfortable with you.
Exactly.
So
but
what
you
is the
pointed
reason
your
behind?
finger towards me. I thought you were talking about me. Oh my God. All right. Exactly. That's what it is. That's what my
I'll
point
point towards myself.
Okay, let's do it together. To all of us.
Yeah.
Ms. Thaira, anything you want to say to all those parents who are out there, how to look after their kids? Any quick tips?
Yes, I would like to say, if you want to understand a child, you should just put some open-ended questions just to know, okay, what the child wants to say. If you would be giving them yes or no options, they would not be telling you about the problem. So put open-ended questions. Then if you want to explore why the child did this or why the child behaved in a certain way, you must be talking, you should start talking with an I question. I know that you are in trouble, but I just want to help you out. So if you could just tell me. So the child would be more open to you and he would be discussing. Then is you show empathy. You should come to their interest and you should show empathy. Yes, I do understand and I know you are going through the troubles and all. So the child would be comfortable with you, and please, one thing, please don't rub what the child tells you. Don't rub it on his or her face when the time is gone and the problem is solved. So if you do that, the child would be making a communication gap with you.
One last thing.
Oh, sure.
It is always the response of communication that you get. The way you communicate to your child, you always get back to that. Okay.
Exactly.
So that essentially means you need to initiate the proper communication methods so you get in return, positive response from your child as well.
Exactly. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for such wonderful, amazing tips and recommendations. And at this particular moment, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to promise all my viewers out there that next week we'll, inshallah, we want you to come back, and then we want to talk from the teenagers' point of view, because they're not that stupid though. They can listen and they can understand pretty much. So what we'll do is, because all of those parents might probably be thinking that, what have we done wrong? So now I think what we'll do is that we'll probably discuss the teenagers and how they malign and how they misuse and how they take advantage of their parents being lenient and liberal too as well. So promise? Promise? All right, we'll definitely get you back. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, what we need to do is that we need to move on towards the vegetable of the day. And today we have picked up on celery. I think that's how it is. Do you know what do we call it in Urdu? I mean, if you can help me. But the health benefits are, it manages diabetic symptoms, promotes cardiovascular health, gives relief from migraine and asthma, prevents cancer and improves immunity, reduces blood pressure and cholesterol, prevents urinary tract infections in women, helps reduce swelling and pain around the joints, and it improves your eyesight too as well. So this is what you can eat, ladies and gentlemen. These were the health benefits of celery. And for your feedback, what you need to do is that you need to write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of, right here, Well This Morning, yeah. And on Twitter, it's Well This Morning as well. And on Dailymotion and YouTube, it's Well This Morning once again. Please make sure that you remember all of us and our team in your prayers, and you look after your kids the way every parent wants to, and that's what it is. Look after yourself. The fabulous repeat is going to be at 11:05. Bye-bye. Good morning.